This is the Writer's Daily Dive Live. And this is where we're going to discuss with writers who are part of the Writer's Daily Dive. We're going to have one person on each week to talk about process and to talk about this accountability thing. Because Writer's Daily Dive, hi, people joining, awesome. Writer's Daily Dive is on the East Coast, but we have people from all over, from Europe, from the West Coast. We meet at 1 o'clock on the East Coast on Zoom 5 days a week. Nobody actually comes 5 days a week except for me, but I started it as a way to help me go through the ups and downs of writing a book. Because I can be carried away by depression, by, a million things. And I figured, how am I going to show up for a book, which I made a promise to finish? How am I going to be forced to show up? I mean, that's literally it. And I thought, okay, well, if I have to be there for other people, then I'll be there. And what's happened is over the last year and a half is that a group of people are helping me write my book. And Steve Salinda, here with me today, is one of the Steady Freddies. You're there almost every day.
Almost.
And what?
I said almost every day.
Yeah, really, really almost every day. You and I and your wife met through Janine Willette, one of Janine Willette's Writing in the Dark Zoom groups, which is pretty interesting as well that we got connected that way. Steve is a runner, he's a writer, he's a thinker, he's a contemplative. And one of the things that I'm just so amazed about you is that you have the discipline, maybe not even to call it discipline, but you've been publishing once a week for how many weeks?
Um, I started in January of last year. So my calculation is it's about 64, 65 weeks maybe in a row. So,
I mean, and your background was not in this. I have to say,
oh,
first of all, his Substack is the Ultra Contemplative, and we'll talk a bit about what's in it. But the fact that you come from a engineering background, is that right?
not formally. I come from a electrical instrumentation background. I used to work for a oil company, and over the years, my job moved more away from the everyday type of maintenance type of work to more of a semi-engineering mode. So, yeah, kind of.
Now, did you, so I'm assuming that some of the discipline of showing up for that, for a good deal of your career rubbed off. Um, and that the fact that you're doing it, you publish every Wednesday, you publish your newsletter, and that now you have 65 of these is tremendous. And you show up and work on it pretty much an hour a day with the rest of us. Sometimes there are 5 of us, sometimes there are 10 of us. Sometimes I think there's only been one day where there's been one of us, and that was me.
Right, right.
um, so let's get into what the ultra contemplative is. Oh, and by the way, anybody who wants to join us at 1 o'clock, I was gonna try, well, let me see if I can do it. I'm gonna try and paste, now how would I do it on an iPad? Ah, that's what I don't know. That's what I didn't figure out. Oh, there. Haha, I did just paste the long form of the link in the chat, I think. Yeah, I did. So that's how you would join us at 1 o'clock. And what we do there is we chat for 10 and then we write in silence together for the rest of the time. So it's just a destination to show up to. So let's get into what the ultra contemplative is. Maybe we should start with when you started running and what the thing that it is interesting is the mix of the meditation and the contemplative side of you with the running side of you, which I like very much.
Okay, I'll try to be concise here. I've been running
Don't be
for,
concise. This is the time not to be concise.
we don't have that much time. Anyway, I've been running for over 45 years. I used to run in college, and then I kind of ran off and on for quite a while. And what happened what happened was that because I ran in college, because I ran tried to run competitively, I was trying to run as fast as I could for longer distances. Well, that's fine when you're younger, but as I got older, I started to get hurt the more times I did that. So eventually it was more recovering from being hurt than actually running. And by the time I hit my 50s, uh, I kind of realized I'm not going to be fast anymore. My fast days are over. I love the running. I love the um stress relief that it gives me. And so I slowed down. And I want to say that around 2011, 2012, right around there, I really started running seriously again. And when I say seriously, up until that point, maybe I had run 10, 20 miles a week. After 2011, 2012, I was going through my second divorce, and I found that just to keep sane, I had to run. And so it was primarily, like I said, stress relief, anxiety relief, and just trying to keep my head clear. I started to notice that if I slowed down, I could run longer. And that's when that started. So I started to gradually up my miles from 20 to 30 miles a week. Um, 2014, I met my now present wife. We started running with a run club nearby here. I'm living in Glendale temporarily, but we joined a group called the Pasadena Pacers, and they've got over 2,000 people in it. It's a free running group. I had never run in a group before, so it was kind of fun. And I actually started training for the LA Marathon, and I slowly started upping my miles again from 20 to 30 miles a week to maybe 30 to 40. And then we all endured this thing that we called the pandemic. And when that happened, and talk about anxiety and everything else, right? I realized that, hey, I got nothing but time on my hand. Everything else is closed except for the mountain trails that I live by. So I just thought, if it takes me all day long, I'm just going to see how far I can go. And I have realized that I started running more and more and more. And where the contemplative practice comes in is that um,
Yeah, you
I'm
said that you don't listen to anything when you run.
no,
There's no music, there's no
there's no music.
podcasts.
No, a couple of reasons. Number one, technically, when you're running on trails, it's kind of a bad idea because, especially where I lived, a lot of mountain bikers, a lot of people doing things you don't know what's going on. You really have to be aware of your surroundings. There's animals, there's a lot of things out there that you, like I said, you just can't be in your own little sound bubble. So, as I was saying, I'm also trained as a spiritual director. And what that means is I kind of help people, in a nutshell, kind of get more in touch with their spiritual selves, which means a lot more self awareness, which just about every religion in this world is trying to help you to do if you're quote unquote doing it right. So I noticed that my contemplative exercises, and it's interesting you call it an exercise because it is,
Yeah.
it's a spiritual discipline
You're
of,
developing muscles. Yeah.
right, of developing this these self-awareness muscles, these self-awareness exercises. I realized, hey, I can do this while I'm running. And while I'm running, I have two things going for me. I have solitude and I have silence. And
And you have rhythm too.
that's right. And I was going to bring that in too, where what happens is that, the silence and the solitude is really helpful for anyone who meditates, realizes that, yeah, it's a lot easier to do it when it's quiet and you're alone sometimes. Um, but the thing too is that, um, like you mentioned, I must take tens of thousands of steps when I'm running. And because I'm taking all those steps, the right left rhythm engages the right left lobes of my brain, which is very essential in um, EMDR. Don't ask me what
Right.
that.
The
Uh,
woman who developed this therapy system where
right,
your eyes track left to right,
right,
I believe she came to this because she would go out walking and walk her dog,
right,
and she noticed that this rhythmic right to left or left to right movement did something in the brain that was beneficial, right?
right. So at the same time, I'm doing all this running, I'm doing all this, kind of movement, meditation, and all that. At the same time, my therapist said, "Hey, this is really good for you," because my EMDR therapist was saying, "Well, you're engaging both halves of your brain. So, things are going to come up as you're doing this." And she was right. Um, Not in a bad sense, but in a good sense, in that I was able to process things better through,
Oh, I never made this connection really that the idea to start writing was to do with these things that came up because of running and EMDR, because the first things I read of yours were exactly about traumatic experiences in childhood that you were
right.
working through, right? Hmm.
Yeah, because like a lot of, I'm going to broad brush, so I apologize right now if I'm offending anyone, but like most males growing up in a Western culture, especially in the United States, um, it was kind of seen as a weakness if you were not um, kind of self sustaining, and that going to seek a mental health practitioner was seen as, unless you've got something going on, unless you're crazy, well, then you don't do that kind of thing. You just kind of buck up and handle it. Well, okay, and that's why there's a lot of problems in this world, is that a lot of people never processed what was going on in their childhood. I mistakenly was under the belief, and I'm sure a lot of other males can relate to this, where, your father or whomever kind of told you that, hey, big boys don't cry, you hold it in, you maintain, you got to be the strong guy. And holding all that in was kind of a thing. So it led to more of a dismissive behavior on my part, in that all of these traumatic things that happened were going on in my life. I never processed them. I just kind of squish them, you
Right,
know.
what does that even mean? Is there like a machine you put the thing in and then like what what does process even mean, right? And it's different for everybody, I'm
Well,
sure.
as my therapist put it to me, and she was very patient with me in the beginning, because I told her, I said, I don't think this is going to work. I don't know. Because she was always asking me, go back to your childhood and think of a time when this happened. It's like, ah. And so I kind of pushed back on her a little bit in the beginning. And I said, you know, this happened when I was like 6 years old or
What has it got to do with now?
exactly. And I said, what does that have to do with now? And she
And the
said,
thing
well,
is that it that's the beauty of writing this stuff down is that it's this, there's no time in writing, really. I mean, you
well,
create it, but it's alive.
where I had my light bulb moment is when she said, are you remembering these things? I said, yes. And she goes, you're still the same person you were then as you are now. And it just kind of dawned on me of like, oh yeah. And she said, all you are older. You're older. You were six back then. You're, whatever age you are now. But that stuff didn't go away. Those memories didn't go away. That didn't happen to anybody else. That happened to you. And it's still there. And it was like, oh, oh,
Now, can
oh.
we also talk about processing in terms of, because I don't want to run out of time, I want to talk about how this how running and contemplative practice relates to writing. In doing it in these bites that are regular, that have a rhythm, which is what we try and do at Writer's Daily Dive, just show up, stare into space. But there's a destination where you meet this writer or you meet your muse, and then it knows where to find you. But also, I wanted to ask you, because writing through this stuff in a regular way, and we're calling it accountability, but I really don't like that word. But it is. Writers Daily Dive is an accountability group where you show up and take account, I guess. But what happened to you in Altadena, I don't know how many months ago it was, but your entire world burnt down. And you were one of three people I know that lost their entire house. And so writing through that has been exceptional. I mean, I've just reading about it and the minutia of you going back through and sorting through and finding objects and um wow.
Well, everyone processes trauma differently. Um, I just want to address the small bites. The reason why I do that is because I've done a few things in my life since retiring. And one of the things I did was I used to help pastor a church down in uh, Gardena, which is a small area of LA south of the LA airport area, and was mostly for homeless and very poor people. Well, I used to write sermons, I used to give sermons, and I realized if you went over a certain amount, you lost people, meaning that after 15, 20 minutes, forget it. You're talking to yourself and you're just hearing yourself talk. And I realized that writing is the same way. I'm going to be the first one to admit it. I will read somebody's very short Substack post. If it's
Right.
longer,
No.
maybe I'll get to it, a little bit later. So my Substack posts, I I do them almost the same way, and they're almost the same length every time. And I've gotten feedback from people who are not real readers, but like reading my posts because, hey, within 2 to 3 minutes, I could get through it. And they're really good, they're really interesting, whatever. But it's 2 minutes, which sounds it's not that much time, but
And you're
we
recording them as well. I'm recording mine as
right,
well. So it's
right.
like, it's kind of fun to listen to your voice reading them as well. Yeah.
Which very funnily, in a very interesting way, makes it doubles the time from 3 minutes to 7 to 8 minutes.
Right. It does. It
Yeah,
does because there's pauses and,
right, right. So, but the writing and everything else, there's a researcher, Jamie Pennebaker, who found out that as you write through trauma, and this helps some people, not everybody, but as you actually write it out, it helps you to be more at ease with it, more comfortable with it. Nobody's cured from trauma. You just deal with it differently. You live with it. And so, that's the thing that I'm doing is that I'm not, all that's trauma still there. All these memories are still there, but it doesn't affect me viscerally like it used to. So,
I can't believe that I think you didn't miss a week, even during the fires. You were still keeping us posted. You were still telling us what was going on the ground. It was quite unusual. And I found that too, that it's like, I have this thing now, and Substack makes you feel so safe about putting all of yourself there and keeping all of your aspects there. Like I've started to find my old published fiction and I'm bringing that there, and old podcasts and old newspaper articles. So I feel it's the archive of my life. Um, but I feel like I have this thing that's alive that will sustain me, and this book has been that I'm writing about my husband who died in 2020, who was a trans man. That's really not the story of the book. The story is more of we're talking to each other. So it's a commitment to keep talking to each other. And I found a lot of his writing. He had always wanted to write his whole life and was a really unbelievable writer, but he could not bear the awful first draft. Some people cannot bear the awful first draft, but the awful first draft is everything. I mean, you've got to get it out in order to get the great eighth draft or whatever it is. But this consistency, which I didn't know I was so sorely lacking, of showing up every day, even if you fail. That's the beauty of it. Like, show up and fail. I was so nervous about doing our first live today, and I'm like, you know what? Just fail. Just do it and fail. And then, right? That's the only way to get over being so nervous. But the book itself that I started writing when my husband passed away, I think kept me alive. And now I believe that I'm editing it through Substack. So I'm putting out chapters and it's changing the way, I mean, I'm creating a book through incrementally publishing it on Substack. Not sure that's the way to do it, but
well, I'm going to
you know,
interrupt just for a second. And
yeah.
anyone listening, you need to subscribe to Kara. You need to read these snippets that she's putting out because they're fantastic. And
Thank you.
what is so beautiful about it is that not only is it her words, but also her husband. So she's speaking through unfortunately, her deceased husband. So it's really, really good, interesting, very
Thank you.
heartfelt. So there you go. There's my play.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's us, it's our book. And that makes me feel like I have a goddamn purpose in life.
Right.
And you know, I didn't know I really didn't have a purpose or a mandate in my life until I got one. And it's like, wow, that is super cool. And Substack keeps me really connected to that. Um, so I'm happy here. Um, and I'm happy to be showing up every day. with poets and novelists and memoirists. I mean, I'm going to have a different one of us on every week because each story is so amazing. Um, Talk a little bit more about your contemplative practice. Oh, no, you know what I wanted to say? I wanted to connect everything between this. I guess it's discipline, but the running, the meditative practice, and how that all relates to slowly creating a book, because you didn't have like, well, I'm going to write specifically about this, and this is the trajectory of my book, and this is the theme of my book. You're discovering that as things happen in your life, and you're going to be able to look back and go, whoa, what, let me look at all this material that I've published every week and discover what the theme of the book is, right? It's
Right.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
And
and why it kind of evolves around, or revolves, I should say, around the running, is specifically what you had brought up, and what I had affirmed there, is that, this right left pattern. I take thousands, tens of thousands of steps. I'm doing this for hours. So, like I said, I'm engaging both sides of my brain, which is so important to the creative process. Even though your left side's the logic, the right side is where all the emotion is. So you have to have those two put together, and out comes something, more whole. And that's kind of like what I'm finding with the writing. That's what I'm finding with, the meditation and the running at the same time. It's like, I can't tell you how many of these weekly things I write. I don't write it. I'm actually running and thinking about it. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll say
is
this.
it dropping down? And I love when I feel like I'm just the transcriber and it's arriving, as opposed to,
Sometimes that happens. Yep.
yeah.
Sometimes that'll happen. I'll come in straight from a run and just start writing, because it's like, whoa, okay, I had a block. I wanted this angle, but nope, I got a better one. So, that
I
happens.
wonder how much Joyce wrote Ulysses while walking through Dublin, just
Oh yeah.
like, right? Just walking, walking,
Right.
walking.
Right.
I've started walking as well. Um, it's how I'm getting around in East Hampton. I'm right in the village, so I can walk to everything. So getting good exercise doing that, and it is delightful. And I'll do anything, like I'll do anything not to get up and move. And I know that I'm gonna feel better when I do it, but all I want to do is like stay, locked in this little writerish space. Now in the summer, I experience what you experience because I swim in the bay every day.
Right.
And I
Right.
found this recently. I found this a few years ago, and I just can't believe I'm one of these wacky dames who swim in the bay. But that's it now. And I experienced that thing with the rhythm and the emptiness of that. And sometimes I feel it's not even me swimming, right? It's the bay swimming me. And they're really, spiritual moments, I have to say, at this point, you know?
Well, that's part of the practice also. And that, I know it sounds extremely Buddhist, but okay, I kind of go with it, where, we're all one. We're one with the universe. And so when I'm out there running, it is like, that's my church. I'm running in church. And especially when I go to places where I know nobody else goes, because it's too dang far and you can't drive to it. So nobody's going to go out there. And I go out to these places and I'm like, I'm the only person out here for miles. And I look around, and it's like in the heart of the mountains and the forests. And it's just like, this is unbelievable. And I get to do this.
And you
So,
take such great pictures out there as well that are part of your posts, which I
right,
love.
right.
Do you know that we've just talked for half an hour? And I thought, oh, that'll be too long. No, Not at all. I have so much more to ask you. But
Okay.
so if anyone sees, I don't know if I did it right, but I put this long ass Zoom link in the chat. You can click on that, I hope. Or you can go to Kara Westerman on Substack, and I have a section called Writer's Daily Dive. It's every day at 1 Eastern Time, and maybe we'll see you over there because now I got to jump on the Zoom. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Celinda at the Ultra Contemplative. Follow him, subscribe, support, and I'll see you guys later.
Okay. See ya.
How do I stop this thing? Jane, stop this crazy thing. Oh, there it is. Okay, bye.